Welcome to this lecture on Principal Government Statistical Publications. Imagine you are the principal of a massive school with over 1 billion students. To know how many are passing, sick, or eating in the cafeteria, you need official report cards. In the real world, a country is like that giant school, and the government needs accurate data to run the nation properly. Today, we will explore the official data books that tell us exactly how our country is doing. Now that we know what these publications are conceptually, let us look at why they are so crucial. These publications are official documents released by the government, containing vital data on population, jobs, factories, and money. Without these reports, the government would be flying blind. They would be unable to build hospitals where they are most needed or create jobs where unemployment is high. Simply put, these publications are the official data books that tell policymakers exactly how the country is functioning in different areas of life. Before we look at the specific books, we must understand how the government gets the information to put inside them. There are two main ways to gather this data. First is primary data collection, where the government sends surveyors directly to people's homes or factories to ask questions, much like a teacher asking students directly. The second is administrative record-based collection. This means the government simply looks at everyday records already being collected for other reasons, like bank transaction logs. Primary data is collected from scratch, while administrative data is recycled from official paperwork. Understanding how data is collected leads us to our first major primary publication, the Population Census of India. The census counts every single person, but only happens once every 10 years. Because 10 years is a very long time to wait, the government also uses the Sample Registration System, commonly known as the SRS. The SRS is a continuous survey that tracks vital statistics like births and deaths. While the census takes a giant group photo every decade, the SRS records a continuous video of selected neighborhoods to keep the government updated year after year. One of the most important numbers published in the SRS report is the crude birth rate, which helps us understand how fast the population is naturally expanding. Let us look at the formula. CBR stands for crude birth rate. The symbol B represents the total number of live births in a specific area during a given year. The symbol P represents the mid-year population of that exact same area. We multiply by 1000 as a scaling factor, so the final answer is easy to read. As the number of births increases, the rate increases, indicating a faster growing population. Now that we have our formula, let us see this with a concrete example from the sample registration system. In a specific sample district, surveyors recorded exactly 4,500 live births over a single year. The estimated mid-year population was 1,50,000 people. We need to calculate the crude birth rate. We start by substituting our given values into the equation. We replace B with the live births and P with the mid-year population, keeping our scaling factor of 1000 at the end of the equation. Continuing with our calculation, we perform the division part first. Dividing the number of births by the population gives us a small decimal fraction of 0.03. This represents the number of births per single person, which is not very intuitive to understand. Therefore, we multiply it by our scaling factor of 1000. The final calculated answer is 30. This means that for every 1000 people living in this district, there were exactly 30 live births that year. The government uses this exact metric to compare growth rates across different states. Moving from population to jobs, another absolutely critical primary data publication is the Periodic Labour Force Survey, commonly known as the PLFS. Before the PLFS was introduced, the government only checked employment data once every 5 years, which was too slow to catch sudden economic changes like job losses during a crisis. The PLFS was created to measure employment on a much more frequent basis, providing quarterly updates for cities and annual updates for rural areas. It is the official tracker that tells us if the country is creating enough jobs or if unemployment is becoming a crisis. To understand the job market, the most famous statistic inside the PLFS report is the unemployment rate. This formula calculates the percentage of people in the labor force who do not have a job but are actively looking for one. UR is the unemployment rate. The symbol U represents the number of unemployed persons seeking work. The symbol L represents the total labor force, which includes both employed and unemployed people. We multiply by 100 to convert the fraction into a percentage. If jobless people increase while the labor force stays the same, the rate goes up, signaling economic trouble. Let us apply this formula to a recent PLFS quarterly report for an urban sector. Surveyors found 12,000 people employed and 3,000 people unemployed but actively looking for work. First, we must determine the total size of the labor force, represented by L. We do this by adding the employed people E and the unemployed people U. Substituting our numbers, we add 12,000 and 3,000, giving us a total labor force of 15,000 people available to work in this specific urban sector. Now that we have our total labor force, we can continue calculating the unemployment rate. We apply the standard formula used in official PLFS reports. We substitute our known values into the rate formula. We replace U with the 3,000 people who are looking for work. We replace L with the 15,000 people that make up the total labor force we just calculated. The multiplier of 100 stays at the end of the expression to ensure our final answer will be a recognizable percentage. Let us finish our calculation. We perform the division of the two numbers first. Dividing 3,000 by 15,000 simplifies to a decimal value of 0.20. This tells us the proportion of the workforce that is unemployed. We then multiply this decimal by 100. The final calculated answer is 20%. This means 1/5 of the people who actually want to work in this urban sector cannot find a job. If this percentage rises in the next quarter, policymakers will know the urban economy is struggling to create jobs. Moving away from people and jobs, the government also publishes vital data on factories and money. For industries, the annual survey of industries is the primary record of the registered factory sector, collecting detailed data every year. Meanwhile, the index of industrial production acts as a fast monthly thermometer for manufacturing output. In the financial sector, the Reserve Bank of India Bulletin provides monthly administrative data on banking, foreign exchange, and inflation. Finally, the Economic Survey is an annual flagship document that reviews the entire economic performance of the country over the past year. Because there are so many different reports, it is vital to understand their periodicity. Periodicity is a technical term that simply means how often a specific publication is released to the public, much like a magazine subscription. The population census is decennial, meaning it comes out only once every 10 years. The Economic Survey and Annual Survey of Industries are annual. The Periodic Labor Force Survey has both annual and quarterly releases depending on the region. Finally, the Index of Industrial Production and the Reserve Bank of India Bulletin are monthly publications, providing very fast updates. Let us visualize everything we have discussed so far. On screen is a consolidated view of the major statistical publications. You can see them categorized by their sector, such as population, employment, or finance. Notice how they are split between primary data sources, like the census, and administrative sources, like the Reserve Bank Bulletin. Finally, observe the periodicity column, ranging from monthly updates to decennial counts. This structure allows the government to balance the need for deep, accurate surveys with the need for fast, frequent updates to manage the economy effectively. We have now covered the full landscape of these essential reports. To summarize, principal government statistical publications are the absolute lifeblood of national planning and policy making. By combining primary data from massive surveys with administrative data from everyday records, the government builds a complete, accurate picture of the nation. Understanding what these sources measure and how often they are published allows statisticians to track the true health of the country's population, industry, and economy. You have now mastered the foundations of Indian official statistics. Thank you for joining this lecture.